Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Crusher. I'm your host, Josh Brewster, and I am here today with Karen Siegemund from the American Freedom Alliance. I knew Karen from filling in for Jamie Glazov on the Glazov Gang years ago for the David Horowitz Freedom Center. And Karen always been a very impressive person who truly has guts and stands up for American values and puts her money where her mouth is. And she walks the walk and she talks the talk, but she walks the walk. And I just love Karen, and I want to talk to her about her career with the American Freedom Alliance and as an educator. And Karen, thank you so much for joining me on The Crusher today.
Great to be with you again, Josh. Just terrific.
Yeah, well, Karen was one of the first guests since I launched the podcast, and it's just great to have her back. So, Karen, I want to go over some current events before we get into the American Freedom Alliance. Today I noticed in the Trump trial, the prosecution's going so poorly that this judge has put off deliberations for an entire week. And I suspect it's like Tom Cotton was suggesting, that he wants to give the jury some time to forget about the absolutely disastrous testimony given by Michael Cohen in this kangaroo court / show trial / what the hell is this all about? And I wanted to get your thoughts on this because it had been a few months since we spoke, and it's an amazing event.
You use the words kangaroo court and show trial, and we laugh. We're going to laugh about it because it's so surreal. But that a trial as Stalin-esque as this is happening in the United States of America, where there's persecution in the legal realm of a political foe. It's absolutely astounding that the level of corruption in this trial is at every tier, from the judge to the prosecutor to how the Department of Justice is involved, to everything to do with Stormy Daniels. Just in every way, this makes a mockery of our justice system, our judiciary, our political system, that Joe Biden, or Joe Biden in quotes, is able to pull strings to make this happen. What he's looking at how many hundreds of years in jail. It really is absolutely Stalin-esque. Every single facet of this, the gag order, just absolutely every piece of all of this is as anti-law and order. It's as anti-free country. It's as anti free and fair elections as anyone could have ever imagined. Doing this at a time when he should be campaigning, so on. So we know all of this, but it's really important to just focus on the outrageousness of the current regime, the Biden regime, the administration, Biden again in quotes, how they will stop at nothing to take out Donald Trump. It's And his point is they're coming after him, but what they're really coming after is Americans who believe in the good of this country. They're coming after MAGA, and it's make those who want to see America great again. They're coming after America Firsters, which, by the way, should be every president of the United States should seek to put America first, should seek to put law and order first, should seek to ensure that the laws are applied equally fairly, that we have free and fair elections, all of this. We have standards, we have a constitution, and for the president of the United States to take every means possible to undermine all of those things, and again, the gag order is just one of many instances of all this. And
Yeah.
the idea that, oh, how nice, he let Trump go to his son's, this is preposterous. So in every way, and I would agree with you that postponing deliberations for a week, um, just in every aspect, it's a joke, and it would be funny if it weren't so unbelievably existentially serious.
Well, it is, and Alvin Bragg and the people who he's working for, they don't think they have anything to lose. If Trump is convicted, that's great for them, but also the embarrassment of him is what they're looking for as well. And but the thing at the heart of the matter is this basic sense that there's one party here and there's one party there, and ultimately we're all Americans. That's just cast to the wind. I mean, this idea that you're doing this to your opponent, this is pure Sovietsky style insanity. And I don't know, maybe you've got to be our age to understand this, because are we not educating people to understand what a kangaroo court is? And this is so beyond the pale wrong. And not to
Yeah.
mention, Karen, that I think they also don't think they have anything to lose. They're trying them in New York. You have 87% of the people there, I think it is, who voted against Trump, and they just, this is like, I think about Marcia Clark and Chris Darden. Like when Chris Darden said, I knew before the trial began it was coming back not guilty. I knew that. I knew it from reading the jury questionnaires. So I think it's coming back guilty. I don't think. I mean, I'm really wondering now. Like, I just think this is a calculation by Alvin Bragg. I think his game is a different game, and I just think that this is something very, very evil.
And I agree 100%. And one of the phrases that we know the left lives by, even if they don't overtly use it publicly, is by any means necessary. And we're seeing that. And AFA, we've been doing a handful of events related to China, and one of the things that I have learned over the course of my research and getting background for all of that is the notion of unrestricted warfare. And unrestricted warfare is the art of taking down your enemy without things going kinetic. How do you do that? Well, you can be very, very cunning. On the world stage, it's one thing, but here we are seeing how Trump is taken out. And we know this isn't fair. We know that. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, a jury of Donald Trump's peers. What would that look like? Who are his peers, and how far do you have to go to find his peers? And wherever they are, you can be sure they're neither in New York City nor in Washington D.C. But
Oh no, no, no,
it
no,
really
no.
all right. It's all a game, and it. I do think the verdict is a foregone conclusion. The question then is, what happens next? To what extent do we on the right, we're always told that if something doesn't go our way, we're going to take to the streets and riot. Where of course the opposite is absolutely true, which they know, which is why they will stop at nothing, because they know we will never take to the streets. We will never riot. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
what we.
yeah, no. It's not what we do. It's not what conservatives do, and it's a very sick situation, and I'm sorry if people don't understand why it's a sick situation. That they think this is a game show or something, and
Yeah.
the country is becoming a freak show. I mean, so let's talk about the American Freedom Alliance for a little bit here. I know that the American Freedom Alliance just had a big conference in Atlanta. I'm going to touch on a couple of things. I've seen a few themes. You've done some series, the war on practically everybody, which includes the war on women, the war on men, and the war on children. Folks, that would be everybody. And you also had a recent speakers. That would encompass everybody. You had a speaker series with Riley Gaines, and I'm fascinated with all that you do. But let's take one thing at a time. Tell me about the war on practically everybody, and what that is all about. Because oddly, and I think it'll be bigger than this, but I'll sit back and listen. Oddly, gender is this thing that seems to be part of the cultural Marxist deconstruction of all that
Absolutely.
is. So, not having attended that, I'm just curious. Tell me about the war on practically everybody.
Well, yeah, it was it was it, we had done, just to set the stage for this, we had done a conference in 2022, the Globalist Puppet Masters, that was about the World Economic Forum and the WHO and the UN and all these supranational organizations doing what they can to take out freedom, to take out nations, and of course to take out the United States. And one of the things that came out of that was that one of the things that they're attacking is we as humans. So we had transhumanism as part of this. And the attack fundamentally is on we as humans with our free agency, with our God-given and constitutionally protected rights. And so that conference, the Globalist Puppet Masters, seemed kind of national security, and we definitely covered national security, but in the end it was a war on people. Then last year we had the World War III event that built on that one, that included China, and that's when I it came to me that really what all of this is in the final analysis about is the war on everybody. So you could call it war on practically everybody or the war on literally everybody. Either way, it was the war on everybody. So we broke it out into the war on men. Why? Because we know that boys are being taught that their very essences, their masculinity is toxic. Men are taught this, boys are taught this. We know that fathers are denigrated. Fathers in the home, the role of the father means nothing. We're losing our warriors. We're losing everything that the masculinity that has been behind really the founding, in fact, is being crushed. So we had that conference, I think it was in February, and we also talked about how that literally is a Marxist line of effort to destroy the men. What do you have in a nation that no longer has men? You have a nation that doesn't support itself. Your children are without role models. They're without fathers. So the destruction of men, the war on men, really is one of the linchpins of this what makes a nation, and what makes a nation's people strong, and by the way, free. So we had that conference. Then we had the war on women, which includes of course, the war on men includes a war on women, because when there are no men, women suffer too, or not strong enough men, women suffer. It's the war on motherhood. We had Kim Fletcher speak. We talked about the LGBT, how girls are being told that it's perfectly acceptable to have a boy in the locker room. Not
Yeah,
only is
this
it
is in
okay to have a
everybody's
boy,
face. This is in everybody's face
it's
every day now. This is in the
every
pop
day.
culture now. This is, yeah, yeah,
And not only are they supposed to face it and deal with it, but we're also demanding that our girls pretend that this boy is a girl.
yeah.
So it's not only a war on the girls in the sense of competition and so on, and safety, obviously, and rapes and all of this that's happening, but it's a war literally on their psyche when they have to say a thing that they know isn't true. And so it's a war on truth. It's a war on science. It's a war on cognition, on reason, on everything. So, and Riley Gaines was the keynote of that event, and she was stupendous. She was just absolutely one of the best speakers I've ever seen. She told her story. She described what it's like having a man in the locker room, what it's like having a man who was a failure as a swimmer against men, now beat out all the women in competition, having to treat this man as if he were a woman. Um, and then
I
what
want
it,
to zero in on this, Karen.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
zero in on this. I want to break this down because I have some thoughts, but I want to get into some particulars. The idea that you have now identified as a woman You take if a man goes into a woman's locker room, removes his pants, he's supposed to be arrested. And now everywhere, Karen, everywhere we're hearing about this nonsense. What I want to get at here, Karen, people, and Riley Gaines should be given a Nobel Prize if the Nobel wasn't so politically correct. She should get the
Yes,
Nobel Prize. But
she should.
here's what I want to break down. See, I want to reflect on something. I remember reading a book about 25 or 30 years ago by Christina Hoff Sommers called "Who Stole Feminism?" And
Yes,
she said, there's equity feminism, and then there's gender feminism, is how she broke it down. And there's wanting equal opportunity for women, and then there's the screwball feminism. But what I'm getting at here is between the trans movement, and most people don't have any problem if an adult wants to be trans. Nobody, I'm not going to discriminate
whatever.
against you. I don't care. But now you're
Right.
asking me to put up with an 11-year-old. 11-year-old is going through adolescence, and now it's time to give this person puberty blockers. We're one of the only countries that is still putting up with this insanity. So here's the thing, Karen. People get a sense that there's something terribly wrong. I'll call it cultural Marxism. But I want you to break it down for people who aren't as consumed with studying cultural Marxism like you or I. But lay people just trying to go through their lives, they know there's something wrong. And it's not like a normal liberal thing. It's way beyond the pale. So address what I'm putting out there because people know there's something wrong, Karen.
Yeah. Well, it's there. There's so many things happening here. There's something very wrong. Absolutely. I actually mentioned this at the conference. There used to be a joke: if you call a dog's tail a leg, how many legs does a dog have? Four, because calling it a leg doesn't make it a leg. And it's not funny anymore because that's precisely what we're being told to say. The other thing that we used to applaud the little boy who said that the emperor had no clothes, and now we're the ones saying the emperor has no clothes. This is not true. Calling a man a woman does not make it so. And plus, by the way, it's profoundly insulting to women to assume that you become a woman by changing how you dress or by deciding you are, and to equate your experience with mine. It's deeply insulting. For decades we've tried very hard to, you mentioned feminism, to be seen as more than our genitalia, and now it's an unbelievable situation that we've got going on here. It really does get it gets to the goal of destroying our identities, to confuse us, to confuse children. You confuse children, you only let them walk on quicksand, which is really what they're doing. They're teaching them hypersexuality at a very young age. I could go into detail about that, but it's so disgusting and distasteful that these things are actually happening. And you put them on puberty blockers, and you mutilate them forevermore, and you sterilize them. There was a meme going around. Yeah, my son identifies as a pirate, so we went and had his hand cut off and an eye gouged out. How is this? How when did we decide to let children decide without their parents even knowledge about something, to do something permanent? Here in California, you need to be 18 to go tanning, to get a tattoo, to get a piercing, to buy cigarettes, but it's okay. And without your parents' knowledge, to lop off body parts and get gender reassignment, and they call it some kind of affirmative care or just some such
Okay.
nonsense. It's deeply
So
Marxist. Yeah,
yes, let me jump in. Let me jump in on that point. So now I'm going to give you a list of things to go along with this deconstruction of gender. Okay.
exactly
Um,
right.
you have the long march through the institutions. You have professors joining students to set up encampments and block Jews from where they want to go. You have people saying the kids should be able to get puberty blockers. You don't need to tell the parents. Biological males should compete in women's sports. I'm just I'm trying to go down the line here of all this mania, but it's so widespread. Karen, who are these people,
Mm.
and how are they running? How are they running our institutions? Is this really a product of academia gone to hell over the last 50 years? Because I'll put it to you this way, as I mentioned before we started. Um, I said to Mitch Silberman the other day, some people might not like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for a lack of a better right wing example. Okay, fine. You don't like her. Acolytes of Marjorie Taylor Greene are not educating your kids.
Right.
Acolytes of the squad, the people in the squad, they are educating your kids. You're shocked by AOC. All those professors who walked out to go scream about how much they hate Israel, they're all educating your kids. It's no different than what Rashida Tlaib is saying. They're educating your kids. So what I'm saying to you is, how do we get to this point where normalcy is so deconstructed? Where the hell did these people come from?
Yeah. Well, you say that people like AOC and her acolytes are in academia. I would actually flip it and say AOC is a perfect example of the
Yeah.
success that academia has had in destroying our youth. I look at when she rose on the stage, just to take her as an example, when she rose on the stage, I remember thinking, if she had had a legitimate education, she could be not the angry, crazy person that she is. She actually could be very effective at actually moving positive things forward, because she's she is passionate. She's got charisma, but she was destroyed by the schools and by the universities with the narrative that they have fed her, that's made her a raving lunatic. And I also went to BU, and they keep coming after me for money, and I keep saying giving AOC a degree devalued all my work. The only way you get a dime is if you take back that degree that you gave her, because what you've done is destroyed her and revealed the power that universities and K through 12 have in indoctrinating individuals who could actually lead good, happy, productive lives, instead of turning them into really crazed and angry people. So how did this happen? It is all about the schools. It's not just the universities. It is K through 12. And it's not just public schools, it's private schools as well. And they have, you mentioned in the beginning of this part of the conversation, the left's long march through the institutions, and that's exactly what has happened. They knew that revolution wasn't just going to happen by the workers of the world uniting. They knew that what they had to do, that by they I mean the left, the Marxists, which includes Maoists, by the way, um, go into our institutions and from the inside take them over. We did a conference on the left's long march through the institutions in 2019, and we covered education, law, um, media, of course, the news, entertainment, and every institution. To that, I would now add the election process. And pretty much everything you can think of has been infiltrated, taken over. Its original function completely subverted by pushing forward the leftist, Marxist, Maoist narrative. How did this happen? It did happen with the Frankfurt School coming over. It happened with Gramsci wanting to take over these institutions. Um, but also, let's look at where the money is now. Uh, the Chinese Communist Party and Qatar are the two biggest donors to universities, in the billions of dollars. And boy, are they getting their money's worth. This money goes
Yeah.
towards the curriculum. It goes towards if towards grants. If your research doesn't fulfill that narrative that they want you to take, you don't get money, period. It used to be publish or perish.
Yeah.
Now it's publish this line of thinking or perish. And we're seeing it. You pointed out about the universities not letting Jewish students go up the steps. Or enter. And I don't know if you've seen the destruction at UCLA. It is surreal what all has happened. But across the country, we are seeing exactly the fruits right now of decades of this kind of indoctrination and propaganda. And not only is it outrageous and horrible and terrifying, and the anti-Semitism is beyond what any of us would have imagined, but what we're also seeing is, and this is what breaks my heart as an educator, you've got these young minds that are eager and wanting to learn and wanting to understand and wanting to make sense of the world and wanting to know truth and wanting to develop their themselves and wanting to meet challenges and rise to challenges and feel that sense of self-worth, and all of that is being stolen, and it is absolutely crushing to me
Yeah.
that they're
Well,
doing this.
well, I want to talk. Okay. Well, then now that we're talking about this, I want to talk about you personally. You know, the, you were an educator, and because of your work with your organization, and this is my understanding of this, you can correct me. Because of your work with your organization, the American Freedom Alliance, which, by the way, I mean, you've got Victor Davis Hanson, Frank Gaffney, Riley Gaines, you got all kinds of great people. I mean, great people,
Yeah.
excuse me, with you, and all kinds of legitimate people. And and you were, you, like some other people I know, David Horowitz, Robert Spencer, and yourself, were all smeared by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And my goodness, it's the Southern Poverty Law Center, by this esteemed institution, and this all turned out to be bullshit. And when I heard about this, I said, "Oh my God!" They went after Karen just because she's a conservative. That's why they went after Karen. And then
Yeah.
a while later, you lost your job as an educator. So now, before I let you go here, I will let you continue. I'm just going to say we have thousands. This is why I said this. We have thousands and thousands of people on the left teaching our kids heinous things about Israel and about the Jew, and it is about the Jews, by the way. They just use the word Zionist and other
Yes.
things, and to hate the country and all this hard left stuff. And they're all on tenure track. Now you're a conservative woman. You studied with Elie Wiesel,
Yes.
and the Southern Poverty Law Center smeared you, and you lost your job. This is insane, Karen. My heart breaks. My heart breaks for you. Now, here's the thing. I think there's greater things on the horizon for you, much greater and much bigger. But that's a hell of a price to pay.
It is indeed. Thank you. It really, it's a shocking thing. The SPLC being designated as a hate group. Those of us who know that how ridiculous it all is. But to the unaware, and to the unaware, maybe this was me 20 years ago, I don't know, some time ago. You think, oh my goodness, it's really great that there's an organization that keeps tabs on hate groups. Isn't that great? I don't have to do the work. They say it's a hate group. They say it's excellent. We need somebody to keep tabs on that. But then to discover what the criteria are to be put on their list, it's in the is it called the Family policy center, any Christian group, any Jewish group, any group that adheres to any kind of religious tenets is on their list. We're of course on the list. Any conservative group. So and leftist groups are left to just burn down the cities. Is Black Lives Matter on the list? No.
And they get a lot of money from Apple, by the way. They get a lot of money from Apple and other tech giants. But they're very well endowed. Go ahead.
It's huge, and I remember when this was happening to me. I think I remember this number correctly, George Clooney had just donated 100 million to the. I could be wrong. It might be 10 million, but I think it was maybe it was some really big number. I'll look it up. It was a very big. It was in the millions, let's say, to the SPLC for the great work that they do. And meanwhile, the repercussions of us being on the list are gigantic. 100 million seems a little ridiculous. Being on the list, for example, we were on Amazon's Smile program. Then we got kicked off of it because we're a hate group. And why are we a hate group? Because we had a conference that exposed some of the really outrageous things that Islam propounds. Not all Muslims, et cetera, but throwing homosexuals off of towers. One would think we could all be united in saying that's a bad thing, or not letting women speak. I thought we could be united in saying that's a bad thing, but apparently not. To the SPLC to say those kinds of things makes us a hate group. And then, yes, I did lose my job. They quoted back to me a sentence that I had said at an American Freedom Alliance event, which was, we here to the American Freedom Alliance are all the beneficiaries of Western civilization, which has been something like this, that's been the greatest force for
God
good.
forbid. God
right?
forbid.
And we
God
here
forbid.
are
God
all
forbid.
its beneficiaries, whether we're born here or not. And
God
that
forbid.
apparently was quoted. Someone complained that, and that was quoted back to me as evidence that therefore I am bigoted towards students not from here, which was exactly not what I was saying. So
Yeah.
and that was quoted back to me. And of course, when I said that, now I'm called a liar. So we're actually involved in a lawsuit. I sued them, and that was 2019.
It's going to take forever, right? I mean, it's going to take forever.
It's going to take forever. So again, the whole legal system is not, it chunks along. In this case, I am
Karen, they have armies. Karen, they have armies. They have armies of attorneys. They can wait you out. I think they should beg for mercy, but it's insane, Karen. I wanted to bring that up. If there's anything else you want to finish on that note, we'll move on. But I can't even believe any of this that this happened.
No, I can't either. And I don't need to talk about my situation, but when I mentioned before that it's K through 12 that's bad and it's not just public schools, I was teaching at a private school. So you need to be very careful. Also, it's not all sending your child to a private school is not necessarily the answer.
It's not going to cure it.
Make sure and check out what the actual curriculum is and what's actually going on. And this school was the school that I had attended as a child. So it's kind of a double, triple, quadruple whammy. And as you say, the price has been extremely high, and it is painful. On the other hand, when this happened to me, I did have they have armies of lawyers, but I have a lot of people on my side supporting me, and that's
good.
Yeah,
good.
It's just
good.
A terrible.
Well, listen, I want to touch on something. We're going to do two things before we finish, because I could go on for another 5 hours with you, and we will over time. But you touched on China and its impact on our educational system.
Yeah.
But I just read 2 books by Peter Schweitzer, his 2 most recent books about China, and China, folks, China is at war with us, and they're not going to fire a single shot.
That's
Okay?
exactly right.
They know they own Joe Biden. Okay, the spy balloon was not a joke. It was, oh, it's a balloon. It's not. It went all the way across the country. They own Joe Biden. Okay, they own him. They own him. And
Yep.
I just wanted to get your reflections on China because look, first of all, when it comes to the Uyghurs, if the Chinese were a bunch of Caucasians, no one on the face of the earth would put up with this shit. Period. No one would put
Yeah.
up with it. And Bill Maher said this today to Megyn Kelly. By the way, Bill Maher's the only liberal left. By the way, he mentioned, he said, we only concern about atrocities if they're committed by Caucasians. Is what he basically said, and he's right.
Um, oh
He's
yeah.
really right. I mean, stop and think about it. So, but anyway, tell me your thoughts, because you had a conference involving all things China, and I
Yeah.
don't think Americans quite get. I'll just finish with this, and then I'll let you go, folks. These green fantasies and the destruction of all the fossil and the moving away from the fossil fuels. Don't drive your electric vehicle on a road paved with asphalt, by the way, because that's all fossil fuels to pave the road. Okay, but bigger than that, fossil fuels are always the backup to solar and wind, and we have this green fantasy. We have this green fantasy, and China is, pardon my French here, Karen, China is like, fuck you. There is no way we are going along with your green fantasies. And we're going to open up a couple thousand more coal plants over here in China. And then when you all have your mandates about all your green fantasies, you can come and you can beg us. So these are
Yeah.
some of my random thoughts about China. Tell me your thoughts on China before we get to the tribute to stupidity.
Yeah. Well, we had the conference last year, World War III, the early years, and the idea really was that we have been, in fact, in World War III because China has been waging war against us, and as you say, without firing a shot. And by the way, we've in large part already we've been losing that war. When you talk about fentanyl numbers, the number of people who have been slaughtered, killed by fentanyl it's absolutely tremendous. Our borders are open. We used to, the story of the Trojan horse. They built a horse to put the soldiers inside, and here's a gift, and then they all went inside the walls, and then they came out. We have it, there's no need to build a horse. They're just coming over, and we're saying, come on in. And these are fighting age males from all over the world, including China, and including all other nations that are part of their Belt Road programs. So people who are in one way or another beholden to China, and they're going to cities that have close ties to China. As you say, Biden is involved with China, as are many, many. This is Trevor Loudon's bailiwick. All the senators and congressional reps and governors and mayors and city
Gavin
councilors,
Newsom.
Gavin Newsom, who are tied to the Chinese Communist Party, and then other non-governmental organizations like Black Lives Matter. These are all entities that are tied to China one way or another, and they are throughout the country. Our manufacturing is gone. We are living this lunatic green dream, as if there even were climate change, man-made climate change, that's a thing to even worry about. When we banned straws here in California, plastic straws, I used to, and I still do, I have plastic straws that I would offer people at Starbucks, for example, back when I went to Starbucks. And wouldn't you rather have a real straw that works instead of the ones that turn into mush? And then I would tell them, before I even knew that much about China, I would say, as soon as China gets on board with these same kinds of limitations and destroy their economy the way we are for this agenda, then maybe I'll use the paper straws. Until then, absolutely not. We are killing our economy while they are benefiting from our lunacy they will never do anything to hurt their own, ever to hurt their own economy. And here we are committing suicide in every way possible. Peter Schweitzer's, I think the blood money is the more recent one, absolutely breathtaking. But Frank Gaffney has a book, The Indictment, which is about China's all China's various efforts in the sense of literally waging war on this country without, again, firing a shot. Bradley Thayer has a great book also about what China's been doing and how, I don't remember its title, but essentially how our um, being allied with China has been one of our worst national security mistakes. But of course, we know it wasn't. None of this is a mistake. It's all on purpose. So the notion of
Yeah.
China, if there's anything at all going on that feels awry, you can be sure China either instigated it or is exploiting it, or is behind it one way or another, or is in some way benefiting. And when we
Yeah. Listen. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to
Finish.
say, we did the World War III conference last year, and it was seen as so powerful and potent and important. As you mentioned, people aren't aware of what all China is doing. We wanted to take it on the road, in particular to swing states. And so what we just did, just last week, we took this conference with a subset of people to Atlanta. We also had a breakout
Yeah.
session at CPAC, but Atlanta was our first holding an actual conference outside of Los Angeles, and it was just blockbuster. And we called it World War Xi, World War III, because again, Xi Jinping is in large part behind all of this. So we will be coming to swing state near you, and it was very exciting. The information, it's
Wow.
existential to consider we're losing a war without even being aware of it.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to remind the audience: the fentanyl is from China. You can
Depends
watch
on
Breaking
China.
Bad, and it's all about the Mexican drug cartel. Yeah, I understand. The cartels are the agent. The
Yeah,
Mexican drug
that's right.
cartels are the agent for all the chemicals. They assemble it, and then all the pill presses. It's all coming from China. And if go, I don't know what to tell you if you don't know this. All this fentanyl. This is China, folks.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a man running for president who is not beholden to China. You might consider the words coming out of his mouth because Donald Trump is not beholden to them. Donald Trump is serious about them. And the fact is, when we were in the midst of this COVID disaster, he stood up and said, "It's from China.
Yep.
It's from China.
Remember when we
It's the
called it
China."
the China
Look,
virus, the Wuhan virus? Yeah.
listen. I'm at work. They call us in. We have this meeting we got to attend. Oh no, don't call it the China virus. It's very offensive. A couple days later, it's like all the evidence comes out. It's obviously from China, and it's funny because they never tell you to stop using the term Spanish flu or German measles, but don't say
Exactly.
China virus. And
Nope.
and you know and TikTok. By the way,
And
TikTok. This is
TikTok.
real. All these algorithms,
Yep.
it's like 100 to 1 to show our kids the anti-Israel position, the anti-American position. During the George Floyd riots, they were doing everything they could to whip up discontent
Yep.
and in our streets. This is China. I'm not making this up. You can go look it up. All right, now listen.
Exactly right.
This is all terribly serious, but Karen, each week now, it is always time, and I'm going to play my new favorite jingle. It is time for Tribute to Stupidity. Tribute to Stupidity. All right, I'm going to go first on Tribute to Stupidity, and we'll see if Karen has anyone she wants to pay tribute to on Tribute to Stupidity. I'm going to go, you mentioned George, I'm going to mention Amal Clooney. Creme de la stupid this week is Amal Clooney, but I'm not surprised. She wants she with the ICC International, whatever the hell it is, International Criminal Court. It's another useless organization, but they want arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, and of course, in the name of moral relativism, they mention Sinawar from Hamas. They lump them in together because the left can never choose between good and evil. I don't know what they would have done during World War II, like Nazis versus America. Everybody's forgotten that Israel was attacked. Jews were massacred. By the way, please, God, Israel, put the videos out, not just for the press. Put the videos out. So, Amal Clooney, you are creme de la stupid on Tribute to Stupidity this week for going after Benjamin Netanyahu. God forbid the Jewish state tries to defend itself against a monstrous entity that hides behind children, takes hostages, sets children on fire, rapes women, drags their dead bodies through the streets, decapitates people, mutilates them while they're alive. I could go on, but why? Everybody's forgotten, like the day after it happened. So, Karen, have you got anyone for me on Tribute to Stupidity?
Oh, it's so hard to choose. I have two.
All right.
If that's okay. Well, one.
Okay, I'm gonna. Well, let me hit the jingle, and then you can have at it.
All right.
Tribute to Stupidity. Yay!
Well, anyone who mourns the Iranian president Ibrahim Raisi,
Very good.
I almost don't even. As with Amal Clooney, though, she's stupid. Anybody who, it's really hard. We've done this for decades and decades. Are they stupid or are they evil? And I don't know the answer. Some people who mourn him legitimately are just plain old stupid and worthy of this, and others, to celebrate evil is evil. And there are people, I believe, in our very own Senate, they had a moment of silence, and I just, wow, what does that take?
Oh
Right?
my God! They had a moment of. That's right. I forgot about. They had a moment of silence. Oh my God!
For this,
Oh
the
my God!
absolute murderous, unspeakably despicable animal of a human being, and that's really
Again,
not very nice to animals.
again, if the Ayatollahs were white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, no one on this planet would put up with this bullshit. But they're not, so it's okay.
That's right. And yes, and one of the, yeah. So that would be my first, and my second
All right.
is anybody who reads and believes the New York Times. That's my more big thing.
Very good. Very good. All right, Karen. Well, look, at least somebody appreciates you. The crowd loves you, and I love you. And listen, Karen, tell everybody because we're going to get out of here. Tell everybody where they find American Freedom Alliance.
Yeah, we're AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Our videos are on our YouTube channel, American Freedom Alliance, and our Rumble channel. BitChute, for some reason, won't have us anymore. I don't really understand that. We're on Getter, Twitter, X, or whatever nonsense, Facebook. But find us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org, and we've got a lot of great stuff coming up too. So hope to see you at some event or other. We
You will, Karen.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Just defending Western civilization. When I took on AFA, I thought that sounds a little nuts, but the reality is it's exactly what we have to do. And my losing my job for praising Western civilization is evidence of how under attack we are.
Well said, Karen. Thank you so much for joining me on Crusher today.
My pleasure, Josh.